a short little video to show a couple of potential problems that might help you get going again. Number one is to always make sure the battery is fully charged. If the HRC cabinet is mounted on a trailer we made, there should be a charge circuit that's hooked up to the 7-pin RV plug on the back of the truck. This wire runs to the back of the trailer and to a black collection box underneath the trailer. It also has a 25 amp diode in line with the battery to make sure that the power only goes to the battery for the HRC cabinet and doesn't backfeed. That would be number one. Number two, a guy needs to keep an eye on is the fluid level right here. I would always make sure this is always 2/3 to 3/4 full. You can see that little light in there. That's a sparge tube that exits the tank. If the tank is to have an upset and overheat, it comes up through that tube into a puke tank over here, the bottom. Then it's once again it sparges out of the top here and goes to the bottom of the cabinet, which is vented to atmosphere. One more thing that could be a problem: if you have less than a 500 psi supply gas coming to the cabinet, there's a device here that is connected to the control box that will make an alarm and shut the gas off. The pump will always stay on, but it will shut the gas off less than 500 psi. Naturally, we have a 10 micron filter here that could become plugged if you see a delta P across the gauge on the your supply, and right here, 10 micron. Also, there's a secondary filter on this other loop here, in between the regulator and this regulator and gas solenoid, that could plug up. This is the filter for the gas supply to the catalytic heater. One thing we've run into a couple times is knocking the wire off this switch right here. This is a low pressure 1 to 4 psi switch to ensure that there's flow off the pump. You might check, you knock the wire off of there. If the cabinet gets damaged, it's very critical, the space between the top of the cabinet and here, for these buttons. When you push this button up here, of course, it's pushing this down here, just like on a hot water tank. So there's a number of spacers here and here that you might change so that you don't have too much play in here. You're not getting full stroke. Oh, one thing that's very common, a guy might forget to turn the gas supply on to the catalytic heater. He can't figure out why it won't light. He's doing everything else. Maybe he just forgot to turn the supply on. There's also a 12-volt electric solenoid that's controlled by the control cabinet right here. In this case, we're just hooking this cabinet up. Here's the wires. It's not polarity sensitive. Be a problem. Also, there's two catalytic pads in here that during the electrical startup has out in the field, we might call them heat generators, but at 250 degrees there's a few millivolts come up these lines. Once again, just like your hot water heater, here to allow the switch to stay closed. That's pretty much it. Any problems, feel free to give us a ring anytime.